Hi everyone, let's talk about interviewing as a human-centered design method. I'm Debbie Pixton. What do we mean when we talk about interviewing? Well, we mean a strategy to gather information through direct communication. It can be done face-to-face or virtually, and is usually done one-to-one. Sometimes there are two interviewers present, one to ask the questions and guide the conversation, and the other to take notes. But generally, there is one interviewee. Many of us are familiar with interviewing for a job. Well, that's one type. That's not what we're talking about today. Interviewing, as we're talking about it here, is more one-sided as a research tool for gathering information and building empathy. Interviewing can be an important part of the design cycle and is most commonly part of the empathizing phase. However, it can be helpful during the prototyping or test phases as you seek to get feedback on a new product, service, or process. Why interview? Interviewing allows you to hear directly from someone about their thoughts, ideas, and perceptions. It's one-on-one, so you have the opportunity to give your full attention to each person and each person's voice is heard. This is especially important for people who tend to speak up less in group settings. By hearing each person's voice, you also build credibility with your stakeholders, which is often important, especially if you will need their support later on. You can challenge your assumptions and perceptions by asking a combination of broad and specific questions in your interview. Gathering information through interviews allows for a lot of nuance. Depending on the type of interviewing you are doing, you have the flexibility to follow the interviewee's emotions and stories to dig deeper and gain additional clarity and information about a given situation, perception, or idea in a way that is more difficult to do when using a strategy like a survey for information gathering. You can also use body language as a cue to know when to try another approach or to ask follow-up questions to help you gather the information that will most help you. Strict scientific interviews need to follow strict protocols, but outside of that, you have some more flexibility to follow the lead of the person you are interviewing. For example, if you are asking someone to talk about goals for a community park, and they express a lot of enthusiasm around outdoor musical instruments, you can ask additional information about why and what they think that would look like to get the details in ways that you wouldn't have been able to anticipate through a strict protocol. Now, let's get into the process. How do you use interviewing as a strategy? First, identify what you are trying to learn and your goals for the interview or interviews. Second, develop your questions. These should be both broad and specific to help you gain the level of detail you need in light of those goals. Consider how you will use the information gathered from the questions. If you don't know how you will use the information or don't have another specific reason for asking it, consider asking an alternate question that will provide you with valuable, actionable information in the limited time you have with your interviewee. If more than one person will be conducting the interviews, include them in the development of the questions to increase the likelihood of consistency across questioners and information gathered. Third, establish your criteria for selecting people to interview. You may want to do a stakeholder map to ensure that all types of people are represented. Consider who will have the information that you need. Don't ask doctors what chefs should do. Don't choose only people who wear red shoes if you also need to know what people who wear green shoes think. Fourth, choose the people you will interview. Fifth, make arrangements for the interview. Choose a time and a place that the interviewee will feel safe to be honest and share his or her truth with minimal distractions, where you will be able to hear the other person and won't be rushed. As you consider these factors, you will want to choose a neutral location rather than one of your offices, a place that's away from other people. Consider power dynamics, who might be walking by, or a place where there's a lot of traffic. Additionally, pay attention to their positioning. If there are windows back into the office, consider placing the person with their back to the room to help them focus on you and your conversation. Then you and your interviewee or interviewees meet and you conduct the interview or interviews. Be sure to introduce yourself, the purpose of the interview, and gain consent to conduct the interview. Begin with easy questions, then ask about specifics. Listen carefully and take good notes. You may want to consider recording the session if you do not have someone to help you take notes. If you are recording, make sure you have permission to do so. and that you have allowed time in your work to play back each interview you record. Once you have all of the interviews completed, you'll want to find a way to analyze the information so that you can use it to inform decisions and take appropriate action. Depending on your larger process, you may use the information to clearly state the problem you are trying to solve for your clients or community. You may have the information you need to map out a new concept, or you may better understand changes you need to make to an existing process. Are you creating a new recipe, a new product? Are you reimagining how clients experience picking up food from a restaurant? All of these situations could be informed by interviews. As you might expect, interviewing can be done in person or virtually. In-person interviewing can be especially useful if you are interviewing several people who are based in the same location. If you've never met the interviewee before and would like to develop some rapport with the individual first, or in cases where you are pairing interviewing with other design strategies where you need the benefit of being on location. Remember the recommendations for Step 5 in making the arrangements for the interview. If you are in person, you need to pay special attention to your location and positioning. Remember, you want the interviewee to feel safe and comfortable enough to share their truth with you without being influenced by who is walking by, the traffic outside, or who is within earshot. A virtual interview benefits from convenience and reach. You have greater flexibility of time and location and can reach people in more different geographic regions. This can also save money if everyone is already equipped with the right technology to conduct these types of interviews smoothly. Should you choose to conduct your interview virtually, you have several options. Zoom, Google Meets, and Microsoft Teams are all viable video conferencing software that allow you to see and talk with the person you are interviewing. You will want to ensure that both you and the interviewee have the hardware, the microphone and the webcam, the software access, and internet connectivity capabilities to make sure this is a smooth exercise and not one that inadvertently adds undue stress to your conversation. Video conferencing can be helpful if you want to be able to use visual cues to help you know where to ask additional questions and where to move on. Another option is to conduct an interview via phone. While you don't have visual cues, you also have fewer technical requirements, which can aid with accessibility and comfort in some cases. However you conduct your interview, make sure you have your note-taking and/or recording options clear, accepted, and at the ready so that you have the information you need following the interview or interviews. Here are some tips and tricks that can help you have successful and meaningful interviews. Plan for a successful interview by choosing a time and location that are conducive to minimizing distractions. Do what you can to create safety for the interviewee. They need to trust that you are not going to judge them for their opinions and that you value what they have to say. They need to know that what they tell you won't come back to negatively impact them in any way. Be upfront about why you are there, if the conversation will be confidential, and how the results will be shared and used. Stay open and curious to hear what the person has to say without preconceived notions. This will help contribute to that sense of safety and contribute to more honest answers. Avoid chiming in with your own thoughts or asking leading questions. Both of these behaviors can skew the results that your interviewee provides because they begin to get a sense of what your opinions are. They can also take you off course, down rabbit holes that aren't useful to your goals. When looking to obtain additional information about a topic that wasn't part of your original question set, consider using one of these magic phrases. To draw out underlying information, try "why" or "tell me more about." To unlock new perspectives, try "if you had a magic wand" or "in a perfect world." And to get more clarity and specifics, try "tell me a story about that." Finally, finish strong. Interviewing involves a lot of unusual norms that a regular conversation doesn't have. To help signal the end of the interview, try "we want to be respectful of your time," followed by "is there anything else you want to tell me?" These two comments are respectful, keep you on track, and provide an opportunity for your interviewee to give you valuable information about what you've been discussing that may not have aligned with your question set. Some of the most important information and understanding has come from this final question. To review, interviewing can be done at multiple points in the design process to gather information or build empathy. In-person or virtual interviewing can be valuable with the right tools and considerations. And the magic phrases can help you gather more nuanced information about a situation than you would otherwise gather from your scripted questions. Thanks for joining us.